War Memories invites you to continue following Part 5 of Soldier by author Lieutenant General Hero of the Armed Forces Trio X1 Ho. Before we step back into the smoke and fire of the battlefield to relive these unforgettable memories, please take a moment to subscribe and turn on notifications. Your support helps ensure that the sacrifices and the youth of these soldiers are never forgotten. Now let's return to the front lines. From 1980, although the revolutionary forces of Cambodia had overthrown the Pol Pot regime with the breathing aid and support of hostile international forces, the Pol Pot group still sought every way to maintain and develop their forces, fiercely operating in military, political, diplomatic, and psychological warfare and espionage, aiming to keep the situation in Cambodia constantly unstable and proceeding to cause riots to seize power in each area in the border provinces of Cambodia and Thailand. They continuously organized attacks, raids, and ambushes to control the people's administration in districts and communes, forcing the people to contribute manpower and wealth to them. In the rural Delta provinces, they used small forces to raid, harass, security sabotage warehouses and production facilities, threaten the administration, and build underground forces among the people using fake surrender methods to live legally, then planting people into the People's Committee en masse. Organizations at the grassroots level aiming to neutralize or turn the administration into a double-faced entity serving both the people and the revolutionary forces, while also serving the Pol Pot army. At that time, working on the border one day, I received a telegram from the Military Intelligence Department of the front regarding the basic base of the battalion. Receiving the mission, I traveled from KO to Sisophon, and from Sisophon to the battalion headquarters in Kralin. Company 3 returned. With me, Battalion 47A at that time had one Jeep, 2 Rio trucks, and 2 Honda motorcycles. I sat on the Jeep. A Rio truck carrying soldiers of Company 3 went ahead when arriving at Maidat. Passing the military control station of Infantry Division 5, the guard soldiers of the division control station did not know what mischief they were up to, but pulled the barrier pole, hooking the wire into the neck of a cipher soldier sitting on the truck, making this soldier almost fall and get scratched. Seeing that, the deputy company commander of Company 3 jumped down with an angry face, cursing the guard. The guard soldier also reacted, pointing the barrel of his AK gun at the deputy company commander of Company 3. Seeing that the political officer of Company 1 jumped down, ran over and used his hand to push the AK barrel away. Taking advantage of that moment, the deputy company commander of Company 3 punched the guard in the jaw. The incident happened too quickly to control. I went down to resolve the issue. Fortunately, the punch did not leave any consequences. If something had happened, I would have been disciplined and held jointly responsible. Meeting the head of the Military Intelligence Department, I was assigned the task of organizing a working team to stick to and grasp the enemy, who was currently organizing the construction of a base at a location about 8 kilometers south of Thmar Puok. This base was commanded by a major belonging to the Sarika faction of Sun San named Konos. At that time, it was near the Lunar New Year. Cambodia was preparing to perform the mission when I received a telegram announcing that a friendly unit had captured a prisoner of war. The prisoner claimed to know the base of Konos. I asked to lead the prisoner back to exploit information. I said to the prisoner, "If you help us find the base, you will also be credited. You can be assured that the Vietnamese soldiers will treat you well." Saying that, I spread out the map and asked, "Where is it? If we can get to Pra Pond, then I can point it out." The guy said. I asked again, "Do you dare to lead me into the base?" "I dare," the guy answered. I immediately organized a team to go, taking the prisoner along to guide the way to stick to the enemy. Taking a prisoner along was not an easy story. I, along with 3 experienced soldiers, and the prisoner walked in front. The rest walked behind, about 100 meters apart, to guard against any mishaps. We arrived at Pra Pond safely. According to the prisoner, from this pond to the base of Konos was about 10 kilometers more, following the direction the prisoner pointed, when we were about 4 kilometers from the enemy base. I asked one team to stay behind while I, company commander Leman Hung, platoon leader Ladinyai, and a number of soldiers led the prisoner to continue. When we were only a few hundred meters from the enemy base, I said to the prisoner, "From now on, I suggest tying a rope to your hand and the hand of one of my soldiers in case you run away. Do you agree?" The prisoner agreed. At 2 in the morning, when we reached close to the communication trench of the base, I had the prisoner led back out while we continued to stay close to observe. It was the New Year, so the enemy was busy eating and drinking. They were subjective and had no guards. We stepped across the communication trench, went all the way to the pond bridge, and crossed a small stream. On the other side of the stream was the commander's house. I asked the brothers to observe the targets very carefully, to draw a detailed diagram near morning. When everything was done, I had the brothers withdraw safely. The diagram of the Konos base was sent to the superiors. Based on this diagram, Infantry Division 5 organized an attack to destroy the base and successfully ended the mission of the dry season of 1979-1980. As for me, thanks to the merit of grasping the Konos base, the incident of subordinates hitting the guard soldier of the military control station of Division 5 was dismissed. Otherwise, it is very likely that I would have received a reprimand. In April 1980, Battalion Political Officer Nguyen Mang Q announced that I was sent by superiors to study. The place of study was the Military Political School of Military Region 7. Going to study was also quite unexpected. Mr. Q met me and said, "You just go to study, there is no decision." Yet only a financial supply paper and a party activity introduction paper. I went down to the companies to say goodbye to the brothers before leaving. The battalion command gave me 2 kilograms of MSG and 10 meters of flowered fabric bought at the friendly trade store to take home as gifts. The liaison station car waited for us from Siem Reap straight to the Military Political School, which was then stationed in Baria Vung Tu. The school opened in May 1980. This was the first time in my life I went to school. The classes were organized into battalions. I belonged to Battalion 1, which was a short-term training class for battalion commanders, the first class to train battalion commanders under the one commander mechanism. The class had nearly 30 people. Mr. Lu Yen, a cadre of the Truong Sun frame from Quang Bin, was the class monitor. Mr. Duong was the party cell secretary. Mr. Duan Duc Thay and Luong Van Moot were heroes of the armed forces. I was the youngest student at that time. The barracks of the Military Political School of the Military Region were formerly the Van Kiep National Training Center of the Republic of Vietnam Army. This center was established in 1962, initially used to train long-range reconnaissance soldiers, later expanded training subjects such as supplementary and advanced training for platoon, company, and battalion-level officers, then special training courses for officers of the main force, local force, and militia belonging to Military Region 3 and Tactical Zone 3 of the puppet regime. It was such an important training center, but the facilities were almost non-existent. The rows of low houses with tin roofs were very hot. The schoolyard was all sand, with only a few casuarina trees. In 1980, the economic situation of our country at that time was very difficult. In the north, we were facing the border war of aggression by China. In the south, we had to focus on international duties in Cambodia. The lives of officers and students were very difficult next to the military. Political school was a field of Ho Long commune. Out there were some ponds and marshes. Many afternoons, unable to sleep, I took a bucket for water out to the field to catch crabs. Catching crabs was something I often did since I was small, so every time I went I caught a few kilograms of crabs. Then I found some wild vegetables in the field and wild bitter melon shoots in the banana garden, which was enough to cook a pot of soup for the squad. In December 1980, the course ended before the graduation exam. The frame battalion commander told me I was still young and could study well, so I should stay at the school, but I just wanted to return to my old unit. During the study process, I received news that the battalion was very short of officers after finishing school. I did not ask for leave to visit my family like some others, but went straight to Station T-230 at Quang Trung to return to the unit. The headquarters of Reconnaissance Battalion 47A was now stationed in Kralan Town in Siem Reap Province. Arriving at the unit, I felt the atmosphere was down. 2 battalion officers were disciplined and waiting for the Military Intelligence Department of the front to assign new tasks at the companies. Some officers who went on leave overdue and just returned to the unit were also waiting for disciplinary review. A number of non-commissioned officers and soldiers near the end of their military service had the mindset of waiting for the day of discharge, lacking the motivation to strive, and also afraid of going to stick to the enemy. The battalion did not have enough party members to establish a party committee. The day after returning to the unit, I was called up by the head of the Military Intelligence Department of the front to hand over the decision appointing me as battalion commander of Reconnaissance Battalion 47. The decision was signed by the commander of front 479 Ho Quang Ho. Receiving the decision with me was Mr. Lemon Hung, who was appointed as Deputy Battalion Commander. The battalion command at this time included me as Battalion Commander, Nong Q as Political Officer, and Liman Hong as Deputy Battalion Commander. Returning from the Military Intelligence Department, I thought a lot. The battalion at this time had 2 very difficult problems. The first difficulty was the organizational structure, which had changed due to combat injuries, so officers had to be changed. The tasks of each company were also different. The companies were currently very far apart. Some units were up to 100 kilometers away because the reconnaissance battalion belonged to the front. It was in many places precisely because it was so far away. Communication direction and reporting were only done by 15-watt radios. Sometimes only 2-watt radios, and 2-watt radios were very difficult to communicate with. If in the forest covered by trees, it was almost impossible to hear. The second difficulty was the ideological problem. The number of brothers who enlisted in 1978 had sacrificed many. Most of them strove well, but by now had been in service for 3 years and were preparing to be discharged. Not a few people developed thoughts of fear of fighting. Fear of hardship and sacrifice. Officers also took advantage of every opportunity to go on leave. Some were late for leave up to 2 or 3 months, individually 7 or 8 months, the unit's work was. Therefore greatly affected regarding the companies being far apart. I would base on the assigned tasks to report to the Military Intelligence Department of the front, to find ways to overcome. As for the ideological problem, I, along with political officer Nguyen Manchu, promoted education and encouragement for officers and soldiers in the unit to be assured to perform and complete tasks well in party cell meetings, calling on young officers and party members to be exemplary leaders in work. In 1981, the battalion moved its headquarters to Siam Reap town in a forest cluster. Located more than 1 kilometer east of the Angkor ruins, we built barracks outside among the people, so management discipline and maintaining activities had many more advantages. Company 1 and Company 3 were now stationed near the battalion headquarters. Company 2 was in Sisophon. Company 4 was in the Tonle Sap area. My battalion in 1980 had a working team in Siam Reap town near the location of Section Z of the Military Intelligence Department of the Front, in charge by Deputy Head Trine Hype Hoe. Section Z built a number of Cambodian military intelligence bases, including Mrs. Apen Zash had a lame leg, and Mrs. Osap was about 20 years old. Not sure how the enemy connected with S, and then suggested S operate as a double agent for them. As reported the incident to me, I reported to the head of Military Intelligence Fan Kwong, also known as Brother Hai Kwong. Brother Hai Kwong told me to just leave it for them to connect and added, keep monitoring. If there is anything, run out here to report. Do not call the place I lived was about 8 kilometers from the Military Intelligence Department. One day is reported to me that there was a new commander who had gone to training in China and returned wanting to find a set of clothes of the Cambodian Revolutionary Army to be able to go openly into Siam Reap town to scout and build bases. He already had a motorcycle and an AK gun. Now he just needed a uniform. Hearing my report, Brother Kwong instructed to help this commander buy clothes and then organize to capture him. The capture scenario was as follows. A reconnaissance group of ours would be divided in 2 parts. The part directly capturing the enemy included me and Feng Kwong. Mine was a staff assistant and a very good martial arts teacher. The support part included 2 other soldiers. We played the role of Cambodian revolutionary soldiers going out in Sra Srang, east of Siam Reap town, sitting in a water shop right at the intersection that had been defaulted, waiting for S and the commander to come out from the base. When detecting me, would pretend to come close to borrow my lighter to light a cigarette and get acquainted. At that time, mine would move close to the commander and use martial arts to take him down. At the same time, I would take downs immediately after. The support part would rush to capture the enemy. We would pretend to capture us right in front of the commander's eyes because we wanted to keep the cover for Ace to be able to continue operating later. The scenario was practiced very carefully. On the appointed day, we sat waiting forever, but did not see S come out later. We learned that the commander made an excuse of being busy and did not come out the next 2 consecutive times. With the same head of department, Fan Kong thought that the enemy might have been suspicious, or for some reason we did not know. He directed not to implement this plan anymore, but still kept contact with S ready to capture if they came out. I appointed a reconnaissance team with bravery and technical professional qualities to station at the town, ready to fight to support Essing. Capturing the enemy. A few days passed. Suddenly led an enemy straight into the place of the military intelligence team. The enemy was very vigilant, his hand always clutching the folded Akai gun, although when entering S had intentionally leaned his AK against the gun rack of the station team. The military intelligence team brothers had been briefed beforehand, so they were very welcoming, inviting the guest to drink water smoke, and then caught a chicken to slaughter, inviting S and the other guy to eat until eating. The enemy was willing to put down the gun, and just waiting for that, the brothers rushed in to take down the enemy and tied him up tightly. The enemy was taken to the Military Intelligence Department of the Front for exploitation. Initially, the enemy refused to declare anything, doing anything he would not declare at that time. It said, if you do not speak, do not declare Anything they will eliminate you. He was not afraid later threatened if you do not declare they will go to your hometown to arrest your whole family. Then the enemy confessed he was assigned the task of going into the town to scout to complete the plan to raid Siam, Reap to create resonance using their own trick against them. We asked the enemy to write a letter to send back to his accomplices with the content as follows: arrived in Siam Reap safely, currently at the base house checking targets, so cannot return yet. Suggest organizing forces to follow S to location X to implement the plan to attack and seize the town as intended. After the letter was written, we checked very carefully and practiced this way of answering to match perfectly, then took said to the area expected to set up the ambush site, then sent to meet the enemy in the base, while I prepared forces and practiced how to fight the enemy according to the proposed. Plan S was assigned to carry the letter. I commanded a trip to Chikreng to create a diversion, then from Chikreng marched back to a mound where many mangoes were planted located between Chikreng and Siam Reap town to set up an ambush site here, exactly on the appointed day, but did not see the enemy come out, waiting for 2 more nights. We finally received the flashlight signal as prescribed. I reminded the whole team to be ready for combat. I personally would perform the task of detonating the DA-10 mine as a command for the whole team to open fire to destroy the enemy appearing on the mound. At that time were only about more than 10 enemies, as told them, you guys sit gathered here, do not show your faces or you will be exposed. Let me go scout the road first. The group leader said the commander did not allow gathering, must disperse. The enemy stopped and dispersed widely. However, still in the position where we organized the ambush about a few minutes later, appeared he was panting and said they are here, attack. He spoke in Cambodian. I pressed the electric button to detonate, pressed several times, but the mine did not explode. I immediately told mine to crawl to the soldier holding the B-40 gun and tell him to shoot to create an explosion, to issue the combat order, carrying the gun into the bush in front. Before he could shoot, suddenly my hand pressed somehow and the mine exploded. The brothers immediately fired axe and charged in. Actually, that day we did not need to shoot much because when the mine exploded, the enemy almost all died. 5 guys died on the spot. 1 guy crawled all the way into the bamboo bush, later could not get out and died in there. Only a few escaped back to the unit. I asked S, why were you in there so long? Explained the commander. At first read the letter and listened to me but did not believe, asking where is my water carrier, and told to wait for a few more days. Later I had to talk tough, saying I came here directly to report, but you still suspect her. People out there have been waiting for a long time. If something happens, I will not be responsible. Until then, the commander decided to let a team follow me. The battle was not highly effective, but our troops were absolutely safe with no casualties because of grasping the enemy situation. After the battle, I was given 20 days leave by the Military Intelligence Department to visit my family, standard of year 1976, plus an extra 7 days. For achieving excellent achievements in work in July 1981, I went on leave at the same time as my leave was. Nguyen H. Duong Duong was 2 years younger than me, from the same Laptha district. He was a very brave fighter, currently the deputy company commander of Company 3. We traveled by military aircraft from Tan Son at airport to Jialam airport and then took a passenger bus home. So calculating from the leave in 1976 until now, I just got to go home for 5 years. All information about my family I only knew through letters wanting me to be assured to work. So in the letters, my parents and my wife all said everyone was healthy. My son Kwang was good. When arriving home, things were not like that. My parents had aged a lot. The family economy was still too difficult. My youngest sister was sick, or my wife had to both teach and raise the child, had to help with family work and farm work, so she was very thin. The most pitiful was Kwang, my son. When I left, my wife was just pregnant now. Kwang was over 4 years old, but very small, and did not accept his father in the first days. Whenever I touched him, he cried. I had to coax him forever for him to follow. Until preparing to return from leave, wherever I went, he demanded to follow. After a few days of helping the family, wife and children, and visiting relatives on both sides on time, I went to the liaison station to register to return from leave back to Battalion 47. I learned that during my leave, the party committee of the Military Intelligence Department of the Front organized a congress and elected me to the department party committee. At the same time, the Congress of Representatives of the Staff Party Committee of Front 479 also elected me to the party committee. I was then 28 years old, the youngest party committee member of the Military Intelligence Department Party Committee and the Staff Party Committee of the Front at that time. After the Congress, political officer Nguyen Manchu received a decision to move to the political department of the Front staff, while I was appointed as secretary of the Battalion Party Committee. In February 1982, I received a decision to move to work at the Military Intelligence Department of the Front. I handed over the work to Mr. Lemach Hong. When I left, the battalion command included Messrs. Leman Hong, Battalion Commander Nyan Van Ren, Political Officer Nguyen Van Gaiai, and D. Dao Cho, and Nguyen Van Eng, High Deputy Battalion Commanders. The battalion at this time was still focusing on grasping the enemy to serve the basic mission of the volunteer army, which was to fight along with the Friend to sweep the enemy and help the Friend build revolutionary strength moving forward to self-handle immediate and long-term tasks. The companies were then fully staffed with a team of officers with much experience operating in the Cambodian Battlefield Company 1 and Company 3 at that time. Performed the task of regularly maintaining campaign observation posts on 2 border directions. Sisophon and Samrong Company 2 was the mobile unit of the battalion, always ready to support key areas. Company 4 turned into a riverboat company operating in the Tonle Sap area. The Military Intelligence Department of the Front was not strange to me. During my time at the Reconnaissance Battalion, I still regularly contacted for work, received directives, periodic reports, asking for opinions to resolve unexpected tasks. When I returned, the command included Mr. Phan Quong, head of department, Trine Hyep Hoa, and Doan Chuk, deputy heads. The Military Intelligence Department had 5 sections, including research, reconnaissance, espionage, information, logistics, and a cipher team. At that time, I was assigned to the reconnaissance section as head of reconnaissance section. The mission of the section at this time was specialized in monitoring the reconnaissance work of Divisions 530, 2309 of the Vietnamese Volunteer Army and the Friends Divisions in the area of Front 479. Returning for a few days, the Military Intelligence Department received news that the enemy was moving forces to operate on the corridor northwest of Hong Mountain. The front command decided to establish a temporary mixed task force to maneuver to attack the enemy on their operating corridor. The force of the group included Battalion 1 of Regiment 271 Reconnaissance Battalion, 47A1 Company of Reconnaissance Battalion, 54 of Department 2 General Staff. The command of the group was led by Mr. Heo, Regiment Commander of Regiment 271, as Commander Mr. Vian, a person from Department 2, as Political Officer, and I as Chief of Staff. The units of the group organized a sweep of the corridor. The enemy detected us, so they withdrew all to the other side of the border. After a few days of doing corridor interception work, we were ordered to withdraw to the basic base. On the way back, I had severe malaria. Battalion 47 sent a jeep and a GMC truck up to take me and some equipment and materials back. First, the battalion command decided to pause at the base of Regiment 88 in Sri Noi, waiting for the next day for the vehicle of Battalion 47A to pick up to return to the basic base. Regiment 88 at that time was commanded by Mr. Nguyen Van B, also known as Nambi, Deputy Chief of Staff of Division 302, concurrently as Regiment Commander. Early in the morning, preparing to get on the car to return to Siem Reap, I saw Brother Nambi bring a packet of tea. Hoe, Brother Vu Bei, Chief of Staff of Division 302, just returned from leave in Hanoi and has a packet of very delicious ba din tea. Let's brew tea, drink, and then leave. I lingered, sitting drinking tea, when I saw a GMC of the Engineer Regiment carrying a number of brothers running past in the direction of Siem Reap town. A while later, suddenly heard a loud explosion followed by small gunfire. The explosion was about 5 or 6 kilometers from where we were sitting. The duty officer of Regiment 88 came in to report the Engineer Regiment's vehicle was ambushed by the enemy. Mr. Nguyen Van B immediately ordered the company performing combat duty to move to the direction of our ambushed vehicle. I also got on the car to go. Arriving, I saw the brothers on the car. 5 or 6 people sacrificed. Almost all the car was burned. The driver also sacrificed. The enemy knew there was a convoy of ours carrying soldiers back to Siem Reap, so they organized an ambush. In the middle of the road, I was stunned, suddenly thinking that the brothers had died in my place. If our group had gone earlier, the vehicle hit by mines and ambushed could have been ours, not them. Brothers of the Engineers. At the end of August 1982, the head of the Military Intelligence Department announced that I was going to study. Before that, a brother in the front cadre department also called me and said, "Get ready to study." Study what? I asked. Supplementary study at the Army Academy, he answered. I handed over the work to the new head of reconnaissance section, Mr. Latan Hung from Division 309, then said goodbye to everyone to go to study the curriculum at the Academy was very interesting and useful to me, mostly new knowledge to me. In early 1983, when I was studying at the school, I received the decision to be awarded the title of hero. That was on January 25th, 1983. The next afternoon, the 26th, a UAZ car of the Academy came to pick me up to meet the Academy Director, Lieutenant General Vu Lang. He asked me where I was from, how old, so young. Why not study training but supplementary study after? Inquiring Director Vu Lang announced the Academy would organize a ceremony to award the hero title to me. Before I returned, he opened the cabinet and gave me a carton of cigarettes, 2 cans of milk, and had the car take me back to the dormitory. I was very moved. In July 1983, the supplementary course for Combined Arms Command and Staff at regiment and division level ended. The car of the Army Academy took us back to Ho Chi Minh City. I was allowed to go on leave before returning to the unit to continue working during the time I went to school. The Military Intelligence Department of the front had many personnel changes. Mr. Phan Quang went to study in the Soviet Union. Mr. Trang Hyep Hoa was acting head of department in mid-1983. The Siem Reap incident occurred due to believing in the testimony of an enemy who fake surrendered the command of Front 479, and the leadership of the Friends province assessed that a number of officials in the Friends administrative machinery in Siem Reap were operating as double agents. Subsequently, these officials were arrested, a mistake partly due to the agency providing inaccurate sources, later corrected, although so a number of our officers were also disciplined. The above event reflected the complex and difficult nature of the work helping Friend Cambodia at that time, from assessing and identifying the enemy to understanding the Friends' customs and culture, the alertness and training of political bravery of each officer and soldier performing international duties in general and those doing military intelligence work in particular. After the Siem Reap incident, the atmosphere in the Military Intelligence Department was down. The acting head of department and head of research section, head of espionage section, were transferred back to the country. I was appointed as deputy head of Military Intelligence Department in charge of troop reconnaissance and technical reconnaissance. Superiors transferred Mr. Lu Phuoc Lok to be head of research section. I knew Mr. Lok from the days newly entering the South when he was a platoon leader at the Regional Military Intelligence Department when I worked at Battalion 47, then the Military Intelligence Department of the front. The two brothers still met often. He taught me a lot of experience in espionage tradecraft. Mr. Locke was 12 years older than me, the eldest son in a family entirely of soldiers. The family of Mr. Lu Phuos and Mrs. Nguyen, this Yuan, Mrs. Nguyen, this X1, was the great-great-granddaughter of valedictorian Nguyen Huan. Mr. Luku, one often called Mr. Tubin, from Hoi in Quang Nam province, joined the army since the resistance against the French in the resistance against the US. He was the provincial unit commander of Phuoc Thang province, political commissar of Hospital K-71, A of the Central Office for South Vietnam after 1975. He was the political commissar of the Logistics Department of Military Region, 7 Deputy Chief of Staff of Front 479, concurrently commander of Group 583, Mr. Lu Phuoc Lok's younger siblings included Colonel Lakim Hahiro of the Armed Forces, head of Intensive Care Department of Military Hospital 175, Colonel Lai Kim Chi, Deputy Director of the Military Pharmaceutical and Medical Equipment Company, Lieutenant General Lu Phuo Long, Political Commissar of the Military Region, Deputy Head of the Steering Committee for the Southwest Region. Later, Mr. Luong also worked with me at Infantry Division 5. I was the division commander, and he was the deputy division commander for politics. After Mr. Luong, there were 3 more younger siblings who were all military personnel. In mid-1984, Mr. Bahvan was appointed as head of Military Intelligence Department, replacing Mr. Phan Quang, who went up to hold the position of Deputy Chief of Staff of Front 479, besides the responsibility of Deputy Head directing the military intelligence and reconnaissance forces grasping the enemy on the borderline. After the party congress, I was assigned to concurrently handle internal affairs and be secretary of the department party committee after the heavy military defeat. The plot to attack and seize and control the Cambodia-Thailand border area to create 2 zones, 2 forces, 2 administrations failed. The Cambodian reactionaries continued the policy of bringing the so-called guerrilla war into the interior, winning people building underground reactionary forces aiming to make the situation in Cambodia unstable, proceeding to cause riots to seize power in each area, step by step implementing the basic plot to abolish the state of Cambodia, executing Rule over the entire country entering the dry season of 1983-1984, the party committee in command of Volunteer Army 479 proposed a policy to help the Friend mobilize the masses, grasp the people, build revolutionary forces organized to fight the enemy in areas both in the border region and in the interior, strengthen border defense, making the enemy lose their foothold among the people, eliminating the source of weapons and food supplies from the border. Implementing the above policy, Front 479 opened many attack campaigns hitting the bases and central agencies of the enemy in the Cambodia-Thailand border area. Regiment 16 Regiment 174 organized attacks to seize the enemy's base area 2005 in Dang Reek. Regiment 429 raided the enemy at Kok Mountain, seizing the Osum base, then continuously organized attack activities on other enemy bases in Olora Komrieng, Ta Sanch Samlot, the military Intelligence Department directed Reconnaissance Battalion 47A and Reconnaissance Forces of Division 9, Division 5, Division 302 to deploy enemy grasping work, serving the Volunteer Army and the Friends Armed Forces in combat. I was assigned the task of directly directing the Deep Penetration Reconnaissance Force to grasp the operational situation of Division 919 Pol Pot at Pra Pond. The deep penetration to grasp the enemy took place favorably. Returning to the base, I was called up by the front commander to report on the enemy situation on the borderline belonging to the Battambang area from the results of grasping the enemy by the Military Intelligence Reconnaissance Force Division 302, attacked and seized the base of Division 912 Pol Pot at Chav Vien Division 5, attacked the central base of Sarika in the area of Ampil Lake Division 309, attacked the enemy base north of Phum Trek. Result, in the dry season of 1983-1984 on the border front and the Friend fought and attritioned an important part of the live force of 4 enemy divisions, which were 9-12-985, 19-3-20, seizing the bridgehead, organizing to stand and hold, causing the enemy difficulties in supplies and infiltration into the interior. In February 1986, Department Head Bach Van was allowed by superiors to go for short-term study. I was assigned by the front commander the task of being in charge of the department entering the Kai dry season of 85. Front 479 opened a campaign to attack the enemy on the Cambodia-Thailand borderline. Division 9 organized attacks on the enemy at Nong Chon. Division 5 attacked the enemy at Primon and Ampil. Division 309 and Division 7 attacked the enemy at Angkor Kham and Na. I was assigned by the front command the task of organizing forces to prepare the battlefield southwest of Palin. The research target was the base of Division 415 Pol Pot. Palin was a land with a very harsh climate. Operating here for many days, most soldiers got malaria, many brothers got malignant malaria leading to death. Division 415 Pol Pot built a quite solid base southwest of Palin. They often bunged out to organize transport ambushes raid with H-12 rockets into our troop encampments. At that time, I assigned Mr. Lu Phuoc Lok, head of research section, to stay home in charge of the department, while I directly commanded the working group to go research the enemy at Palin. The group had 35 officers and soldiers belonging to Reconnaissance Battalion 47. The time of going on mission was right at the approach of the Lunar New Year of the Ox, organizing for the troops to celebrate Tet first. Then I led the group to the place. I appointed a detachment with 1 battalion officer, 1 company officer to penetrate into Thai territory, to organize reconnaissance, to grasp the enemy base accurately. After more than a week, the reconnaissance detachment returned and drew a diagram. I highly appreciated the implementation results of the brothers, but felt still not assured. I asked Zan, Deputy Battalion Commander and Dio Company Commander of Company 1 Battalion 47A, to take me into the very base of the enemy, to observe more carefully. They organized a force to accompany me, including cameraman Nguyen Van Mien, to film the enemy base. I crawled close to the front line of the base, could clearly see the position where the enemy arranged the DKZ gun facing the headquarters in Palin. I directly drew the diagram of the base. The enemy defense system then reported to the front command. The command agency and heads of units preparing to participate in the battle all came to attend to hear the report. Tanks and artillery also went down to Palin. All preparations were done, but for some reason superiors temporarily postponed the battlefront. Commander Do Quang Hung, also known as Sao Hung, returned to the basic base in Siem Reap, assigning Mr. Nguyen Hong Phuc, Mr. Nang Phuc, Deputy Chief of Staff of the Front in charge of operations, to stay with me knowing our force was impaling the enemy still occasionally fired H-12 rockets into suspected points where our volunteer troops were stationed. After the failure in the dry season of 84-85, all three Khmer factions massively sent forces into the interior to implement total village attacks, determined to control 60 to 70% of villages and communes. Build underground forces seize power from the grassroots, simultaneously opening military attack waves, conducting psychological warfare, espionage, focusing on densely populated areas, towns and townships, to create posture and force, waiting for the opportunity of Vietnam withdrawing troops or a political solution to cope with the plot and action of the enemy. The Vietnamese Volunteer Army coordinated with the armed forces and people of the Friend to deploy a plan to build defensive works on the Cambodia-Thailand borderline, abbreviated as K5, in the area of Front 479, over 4.2 million man-days, along with 42,131 turns of civil laborers, more than 2,299 turns of militia from 6 friendly provinces and cities were mobilized to build K5, not to mention the participation of 5 infantry divisions, 2 engineer regiments of the Vietnamese Volunteer Army and 4 main force divisions of Cambodia, with 490 kilometers of length and 150 meters of depth. The defensive line truly caused the enemy many difficulties in moving troops and bringing weapons and war means from outside deep into the interior. The Volunteer Army, along with the Friends' main force troops, organized sweeps of clinging groups and teams and enemy enclaves near the people. After the dry season of 84-85 in November 1986, Division 5, Division 302, Division 309, Group 770, 47705 coordinated with Division 286 and Division 179 of the Friend to open attack activity waves on the area of Division 519 Pol Pot. The Corridor Road, an important gathering place of the 3 faction forces in the bordering area of 2 provinces, Siem Reap and Battambang, along the right bank of the Kralan River, north of Road Number 6. Since coming to the Military Intelligence Department of the Front, I had wanted to go out to a combat unit. Now the offensive momentum of the Vietnamese Volunteer Army urged me even more. I was still young, only over 30 years old. At the agency were all older people. I confided in Department Head Bach Van. Mr. Baishvan wanted to keep me. No, you have to stay here. I am old. Mr. Baishvan at that time was over 50 years old. I tried to present my wish to Mr. Phan Quong, Deputy Chief of Staff of the Front. Mr. Phan Quong said, "You have to go to the infantry to become a general. Sticking here is very hard," he said it jokingly, but he fully supported me. I again proposed my wish to Deputy Commander Chief of Staff Q Ainch Lan and Deputy Commander for Politics Nguyen Egjuan Ho. Both of them said okay with the condition that the Chief of Staff and the Head of Department agree. One day, Mr. Phan Quong met me and said, "Soon I will go to a meeting to meet Mr. Hong Dong. I will put in a good word for you." Mr. Hong Dong was the Chief of Office of the General Staff, son of Department Head Bach Van. Not sure how Phan Quong put in the word. A few days later, Mr. Baishvan told me, "Okay, agreed to let you go, but you have to find me a replacement for you as deputy head and in charge of your sectors. Then you go." So I would be going out to a combat unit, but did not know which unit. Mr. Nguyen Xuanhua then said send him to be regiment commander of 174 or 271. These are 2 hero regiments. The idea of the deputy commander for politics was to send me there to unleash my capacity, but the idea of Mr. Q and Lon was send him to Regiment 6. This regiment is currently weak. If he can do it, then lift it up. If not, then he still needs more training. In December 1986, I had a decision to go to Infantry Regiment 6, fulfilling the condition of finding a person to replace me as Deputy Head of Military Intelligence Department. I remembered Mr. Tran Quang Du. Mr. Du was the political officer of my company when marching to be having a lot of experience in military intelligence reconnaissance work, having been a reconnaissance expert, currently working as Deputy Chief of Staff expert for Division 286 of the Friend. I called Mr. Du and said, "Superiors intend to transfer you to be Deputy Head of Military Intelligence Department." Mr. Du agreed. I reported back to Mr. Baishvan. About choosing Mr. Du, I also introduced Mr. Ziguyan Kaksu. Mr. Su was the head of Reconnaissance Section of Infantry Division 302, both more. Du and Su were later appointed as deputy heads of Military Intelligence Department of the Front Infantry Regiment. 6 was established in April 1970 after the U.S. military deployed a plan to expand the war to all of Indochina, pulling strings for Lone No to stage a coup to overthrow Sihanouk on the basis of merging Battalion 5 of Infantry Division 5 Battalion 3B of Motorized Infantry Division 304 Battalion 227 of B5 Front Quang Tri. After the South was completely liberated, the regiment continuously moved and was organized into many different unit organizations, such as Infantry Division 5 T9 Provincial Military Command Infantry Division 310 Infantry Division 317 Independent Regiment of Front 479, and when I arrived it was Military Expert Group 7705. Due to mainly standing in the formation of combat units, the regiment frequently maneuvered for combat, attacking the enemy from the southwest border of Vietnam-Cambodia to the northwest battlefield bordering the Cambodia-Thailand border. At the time of late 1986, Regiment 6 was currently standing in the area of districts Pra Pond, Angkor Chum and Varin of Siem Reap Province. The headquarters was stationed at Phum Chok. The command of the regiment at that time included Mr. Tran Van Nam, also known as Nam Ga Regiment Commander, Nguyen Van Tuan Deputy Regiment Commander for Politics, Nguyen Xuan Phong Deputy Regiment Commander Chief of Staff, Nguyen Van Trung Deputy Regiment Commander for Military. Some brothers in the front cadre department told me the situation of the regiment was very weak. Loose discipline. The regiment commander was originally from a border guard unit, transferred over, very brave and aggressive, but had transferred to another unit, the deputy regiment commander. For politics could not unite the unit, superiors were considering discharging him for many consecutive months. The regiment had not fought any battle, achieving high combat efficiency. I asked to meet Mr. Nguyen Xuan Ho to propose to directly select a number of key officers to bring to Regiment 6. The deputy political commander of the front agreed. First of all was the need to find a deputy for politics. I asked a brother in the front cadre department, currently does Regiment 6, have anyone who can be deputy regiment commander for politics who is at the front? He answered yes. There is one guy at the front military school. He is at the front military school preparing to return to take the position of head of mass mobilization of Group 7705. I enticed him to return to Regiment 6. He refused. Later, someone introduced me to Mr. Tran Xuan Hong. Mr. Hong was from Thai Binh Province, currently head of cadre section of Group 7705. I went to call Mr. Hong out to meet this guy. Knew me from before. He asked, heard you were returning to Regiment 6. You? I said, yes, I'm returning, venturing to invite you to return together to be deputy for politics. Will you accept play right away? Mr. Hong said immediately, so there was a deputy regiment commander for politics just then, Mr. Du. I just graduated from the Army Academy, was appointed as Deputy Chief of Staff of Regiment 6. In January 1987, we were present at the regiment. Before going down to the regiment, the head of Military Intelligence Department asked me to stay to help the department with some work, so Mr. Hong and Mr. Thai went to the regiment before me. I stayed at the Military Intelligence Department for more than 10 days before returning. The regiment command had been consolidated, including me as Regiment Commander, Tran Xuan Hong Deputy Regiment Commander for Politics, Nguyen Van Trung Deputy Regiment Commander for Military Lekong Bat Deputy Regiment Commander for Logistics and Engineering. The first thing was that we consolidated the team of officers. Mr. Tran Xuan Hong was formerly a company officer of Regiment 6, also used to be an officer of Group 7705, so he grasped the situation of officers in the regiment quite firmly. He said this regiment must be consolidated, otherwise it cannot fight buddy. Then he told me the capacity and personality of each person in the regiment, battalion and company commands. The old regiment commander left a series of incumbent officers were waiting for disciplinary review. However, many of them were very good, very brave in combat. After spending a few days visiting to grasp the situation, I discussed with Mr. Hong to report to superiors to postpone the execution of disciplinary sentences, creating conditions for the brothers to have a chance to correct mistakes. Superiors agreed. I went to meet the officers waiting for discipline execution and said the discipline has been considered by superiors, but I know you are people who know how to fight the enemy, just accidentally made a mistake now. Do you dare to fight the enemy more? If you dare, I will suggest to superiors to stop the discipline, actually already suggested, and continue assigning tasks for you to go fight. All brothers said, I dare fight. Rather, the regiment proposed to superiors to approve the appointment of young capable officers to hold key positions of 3 infantry battalions such as Din Xuan Hung Tran Xuan Thie, in Battalion 7 Duan Tu Mao, Moinjuen Tuong Sun, in Battalion 8 Pham Hong Thie Havan Hai, in Battalion 9 and many other officers. After stabilizing the officer situation at all levels, the party committee and command of the Regiment met to set out the task of continuing to promote sweeping and attacking the enemy, helping the Friend build administration in the area, in districts Angkor Chom Varin and Krelan simultaneously, actively consolidating and improving the combat strength of the unit. At this time, the regiment was in charge of a relatively large area battalion. 7 was stationed at Thmar Puok Battalion, 8 stationed at Thum Chok Battalion, 9 stationed at Donsvar 1st. To find out the reason why the sweeping combat battles of the regiment achieved low enemy killing efficiency. The command divided each person to go to one battalion. I went down to Battalion 8. Accompanying me were Deputy Chief of Staff, New the Operations Assistant Duok, and 2 service soldiers. Battalion Commander Mayo was on leave at that time. Only Deputy Battalion Commander for Politics Sun was at home. Sun reported the enemy here knew the terrain well, continuously maneuvered, so it was very difficult to fight. The brothers organized many sweeps, but did not meet the enemy, on the contrary. Sometimes even got hit by mines, suffering casualties. I decided to go down to check Company 6, currently stationed at Phum Bat Sound. From the battalion headquarters to the Phum was about 10 kilometers. This stretch of road the enemy frequently planted mines and ambushed the Battalion 8 command, did not send people to guide and protect the group. I found it quite strange, but stayed silent and said nothing. I ordered Operations Assistant Duok to cut through the forest to the position of Company 6 without following the available path. The forest-cutting path was only about 6 kilometers. After we left, a road patrol team of Battalion 8 followed the trail behind, going about 3 kilometers. I heard gunfire. The road patrol group of Battalion 8 sacrificed 1 person and 2 were wounded. Thinking we were ambushed at that time, Sun sent forces out to support, saying that at that time company commander of Company 6 named Lap had been informed by the battalion that the regiment commander was coming down to check. Hearing gunfire, he also led a platoon cutting through the forest. Arriving, just seeing me, Lap shouted, "Oh my God, why let the regiment commander go alone like this?" implying why. The battalion did not organize forces to guide and protect our group at Company 6. After hearing the unit report on the operational situation, logistics, material management, still democratic in implementing leave policy, acknowledging and instructing things that needed to be done, I asked, did the unit organize to fight and annihilate the enemy? Neatly, Lap answered, reporting to Regiment Commander. Company 6 is determined to fight and annihilate the enemy force clinging to the area. I said that important thing is how to fight. Returning to the Battalion 8 headquarters, I criticized the command for not organizing enemy grasping well, letting the enemy get close to the stationing position, organizing ambushes, not thoroughly instilling in the troops the sense of enemy situation and the direction of superiors on vigilance, letting troops arbitrarily go into the Phum, suffering unnecessary casualties. I demanded the party committee and command of Battalion 8 to issue a resolution to build determination to fight and destroy the enemy clinging to the area, simultaneously strictly implementing the regulation of organizing forest cutting during maneuvering for sweeps, not letting troops follow trails, both keeping the formation secret and not hitting enemy mines, regarding the failure to organize guiding and protecting forces. Not sure if the battalion command did it unintentionally or intentionally to test me hitting the enemy to know. However, I said to you, comrades, you organized for the regiment commander to go inspect, but you left it like that. The battalion should have gone along at that time. If I told you to go guide and protect, you would say I was cowardly, so I just went. You comrades must learn from this experience. Sun listened and dared not say anything back after checking Battalion 8. We continued to go check Battalion 9 at B, but the battalion sent Company 13 and reconnaissance to block the road to welcome the group. Battalion Commander Pham Hong Thai reported the situation emerging was that north of Bibat there was a Phum where the enemy was very numerous. According to information from the people at night, the enemy even organized 45-man groups during the day. When the battalion went into the Phum to work, they did not meet the enemy. On the contrary, got entangled with mines. I asked to organize an enemy sweep. Knowing a little Khmer, I met some people to ask and determined it was true, so agreed with the battalion's policy. The sweep plan was determined as follows. The battalion would arrange Company 11, led by Company Commander Hong, to ambush outside the remaining force at 5 in the morning, would suddenly attack into the Phum, mainly firing to flush the enemy out for Company 11 to destroy, avoiding damage to the people commanding. The battle would be the battalion in charge. The regiment commander only observed and assessed. The battle took place exactly according to plan, but did not destroy any enemy, only captured a number of Backpacks, guns, and ammunition. At 6:30, the battle ended. Company Commander Hong held the tail of the 82 mortar, coming up to argue with Battalion Commander the Why shoot into the ambush formation of the company. They said the enemy shot. Which battalion shot? I sent Deputy Chief of Staff to Nilai to arbitrate this, and everyone went directly to observe the firing pit about 200 meters away. Looking at the firing pit, this asked, with a pit like this, from which direction did the bullet come? Battalion Commander Pham Hong, they admitted fault. Returning to the battalion headquarters after praising the spirit of actively organizing to fight the enemy, I strictly criticized the combat coordination organization work of the command was not good, especially officers arguing in front of soldiers. To inspect, I had to face many problems, especially the problem of discipline and managing troops, but mainly it was still the story of fighting the enemy. I pondered forever why the brothers could not fight the enemy. Wanting to fight the enemy, what must be done? When still at the military intelligence department, we detected and announced to the units that the enemy returned a lot. But why could the troops not fight surrounded tightly like that? But why not destroy the enemy? Later learned that because the brothers organized road cutting slightly loosely, still having a gap of over 100 meters when the enemy ran out. They dared not shoot because it was too close, afraid bullets would stray into our own troops, so let the enemy run all away from the inspection reality. I realized that the brothers could not fight the enemy because they did not actively bung out to grasp the enemy and organize to fight the enemy, but passively waited for orders from superiors. When superiors ordered to go sweep somewhere, then only organized to take the unit there, and the enemy grasping work was not good. Part 6 in the memoir Soldier by author Lieutenant General Hero of the Armed Forces Trayo X1 Ho. We'll pause here. Thank you very much for taking the time to follow. If you find it good, please remember to subscribe to support the channel and follow the next parts. Once again, sincerely thank you and goodbye.